Good afternoon. My name is Janine Glaeser. I'm an architect, and I'm going to share a story about 12 volunteers who surveyed 300 buildings in 15 days. Pecha Kucha, Haiti. On July 12, 2010, a major earthquake hit Haiti, and most of us heard about it on the news. And the red zone on here kind of shows that the epicenter was located in Port-au-Prince. It was a 7.0 magnitude earthquake. Not the largest earthquake by any means, but one of the most devastating that we've ever seen in the world, largely because there were poor construction techniques, and because of the mountainous region, it was so hard to get to places to help people after the earthquake. Shortly after the earthquake, Architects Without Borders, a nonprofit based in Seattle, put out a call for volunteers. They needed architects and engineers to do post-earthquake building assessments to help people get out of tents and back into homes. There was an email at the bottom. I sent an email to Rachel. 3 weeks later, I'm on a plane to Miami. Careful what you ask for. So I met 11 architects and engineers from Seattle. We carried on to Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and then we traveled 42 miles west to Pecha Kucha. And we were there from July 21st through August 4th, I think the hottest weeks in the summer season in Haiti. After leaving the airport, this is the sight that we saw. To this day, it still chokes me up. People living in tents just outside of the airport, rows and rows of tents. A lot of people from the surrounding regions had no place to go, so they all flocked to Port-au-Prince. You can see the presidential palace. People were looking for food, they were looking for water, and they were looking for shelter. But unfortunately, there was nowhere to put everybody, so the slums popped up right across the street from the presidential palace. So in traveling from Port-au-Prince to Pecha Kucha, it was 42 miles, but it took us over 5 hours. We saw a lot of this along the way. 8 months after the earthquake, people walking by these buildings as if they had been standing there for years. So one of the major problems in Haiti is that the government doesn't have the infrastructure to remove these buildings so they can start building back new buildings. So the rubble sits. There's nowhere to put it, no way to remove it, and even if they could, the roads were still in disrepair. So our job wasn't to remove the rubble. Our job was to get people out of tents and back into safe buildings. Our original game plan was looking at residential homes. How could we get people out of this situation and back into a safe building? So we came up with a game plan. We were going to go on foot and kind of go from house to house and see who we could help. Figure out which buildings were safe and which ones weren't, and then we were going to tag the buildings when we were done. So day one, we meet with the mayor in the morning. By the way, this is the mayor's office. The city hall was devastated in the earthquake. And he shared with us that the basic infrastructure, hospitals, schools, churches, and clinics had not been assessed yet. So people weren't using these buildings because they didn't know if they were safe or not. So by that afternoon, we decided to change our plan a little bit. A couple of NGOs, non-government organizations, got wind that we were in town and said, hey, we want a piece. They had lists of buildings that needed to be surveyed, and we needed the resources to get there. They provided transportation, they provided translators, and we came up with a game plan to assess more buildings in a very short period of time. I mean, it was serendipitous. We didn't know this was going to happen when we went there. So we were very fortunate. First day on the ground, every single morning we met, came up with a game plan, who was going to be in town on foot, who was going to go up into the mountains in the car. Either one, you were up for an adventure. So day by day, we used ATC 20, Applied Technology Council, post-earthquake building assessments. The idea being that we all had to be trained, and you assess the building. There was one architect and one structural engineer on every team. An architect is going to see something very different than a structural engineer will see. Therefore, we could get through more buildings in a short period of time. So when we were done assessing the building, we tagged it red, demolish, do not enter, yellow, limited access, repair, and then green, it's safe to go in. An interesting thing about Haitian buildings is that, by our standards, they're already sustainable. They use natural daylight, natural ventilation, they use local materials, and by God, they recycle everything, because they have to. So what's wrong with how they build buildings in Haiti? Why aren't they sustainable? Well, by the time we got through all of our assessments, we were surprised to find out we got through 300 buildings. I had no idea until I got back. I was doing a presentation for AIA, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, look at these statistics. Half of them were green, and people weren't going inside. Almost a third were yellow that they could repair, and then, 25%, almost 25% were red. So we started thinking about, well, what were the typical failure conditions that we saw? Some were a complete structural failure. Some might have been a partial wall failure or separation, shear cracks, or column beam separation. All preventable without incredible techniques, very simple techniques. Right now, they're dealing with some guy who's standing by the side of the road trying to make a living. He's got a concrete form, he's got a bag of concrete, some aggregates, and some water. Well, as some of the builders in the house might know, there's a very delicate balance to how you put those together. So this guy doesn't know how to do it, and then it kind of carries forward in how the buildings are built. So we weren't ready to tell them how to build the buildings yet, but we were ready to tell them how to repair them. Everything from minor cracks to rebuilding a whole building. That was our first step, the key, education. So what happens next when it's time to build back Haiti? Well, I think our next step is educating them. And it's not about us going there and building it for them. It's about us empowering the people with knowledge, teaching them how to build a building that lasts through a hurricane, through an earthquake. And therefore, I'm going to say it again, in Haiti, a sustainable building is one that lasts. Thank you.